So Sue Bird said something about Team USA basketball, which I actually think has been one of the bigger problems for Team USA basketball. Not on the women's side. The women's side, they can just out talent teams. But I think it's actually been an issue for the men's side more so than anything. And it's about the actual way that Team USA builds their teams. And it's about, in general, that most of the time, making Team USA is the bigger accomplishment rather than winning gold when you're there. And yeah, if you guys agree with this, subscribe. We are only 13 subscribers off 25,800. But let's take a listen to what Sue Bird says.
So this is my blanket statement for USA basketball. It is the most uncomfortable basketball I've ever played. I'm like, you're never comfortable. You're being asked to, I would argue there's like maybe a player or two max on a team that gets to do exactly what they normally do. Yeah. It's usually like your best scorer, best player. They get to be who they are no matter what. Everybody else, uncomfortable the whole time. Mm-hmm. You're trying to be this, or you're trying to do that. You're trying to get yourself going, but this is your role. And right. It's just like this fucking dance where you're just, and I tell people who join the team, like newbies, I'm like, listen, if you're uncomfortable, you're doing it right.
And she's on the money. Like, Sue Bird is absolutely on the money. I do apologize, the volume was a little bit low there. But Sue Bird is on the money that unless you are the number 1 or 2 option, which in fairness, she's there with Carmelo Anthony. He was. I'm not going to, I'll tell the truth here. Carmelo Anthony was. I stopped myself, lads. But Melo was that number 1 option on probably the 2016 Olympic team. Maybe him and KD. 2012 Olympic team, he was that guy. 2008, not so much. 2004, obviously not. But for a couple of Olympics, Carmelo Anthony was like that 1A, 1B option. So he was that player. But when it comes to Sue Bird, she is right. And I think that's one of the issues when it comes to Team USA building is they try to just pick players and then they try to turn players into something they're not. For example, like Jackie Young is not a lockdown defender. Like she can defend, but like she's not a 3-and-D player. She is a ball handling combo guard who can defend. Ka Copper's role is not to be a defender. She is an all-world scorer. That is how she plays. Alyssa Thomas's role is not to be a hustle rebounder. But that's how she has to play for Team USA. Chelsea Gray's role is to limp down the court and pass the ball to Aja Wilson. In fairness, that's the exact role she's playing. So I can't criticize Team USA for the way they select their teams if their starting point guard's job is the exact same as her job for the Aces to pass the ball to Aja Wilson. But you can see it with a lot of players, and especially in the men's. It's why, like, a Jason Tatum, I don't even know what the hell happened today. Like the Olympics, this game did not matter. That Brazil team sucked. I didn't watch the Puerto Rico game either because, again, they weren't games. They weren't games. Like, the Serbia game for Team USA counted, and the South Sudan game, they are tricky. For Team USA, obviously, they rotated all their players in. But it's like, it's not a role that a Jason Tatum's particularly comfortable with, the role he's playing for Team USA. And he's kind of underperforming based on how good he is at basketball. Like, for example, Jason Tatum is a better basketball player than Derek White. But in that, you're going to take less than 5 shots a game. Your job is to play defense and do all the little things. Derek White is better than Jason Tatum at that. He's not better than Jason Tatum, but he's better than Jason Tatum at that. If LeBron James and Kevin Durant both decided, I'm not going to this Olympics, Jason Tatum and Anthony Edwards would be their 2 main players. Like, it is what it is. But then you've got, again, sometimes, like if Devin Booker's shot's not on, he's not there. Steph Curry, prime example. Steph Curry's only shooting 3 shots a game. Steph Curry's just, the way the team is playing does not suit a Stephen Curry. And Stephen Curry's starting games and has been one of their weaker players. Like, Steph has not been anything spectacular in this Olympics. He's just another guy. And that's the thing, is like, players can be superstars. But if they're not allowed to play the role they're actually good at, a superstar can sometimes just look supremely average. They can look supremely average. And that's what we're seeing especially in the women's. Like, I think Breanna looks kind of uncomfortable in the way that she's playing. Because they're trying to make her play like she's Chelsea Gray. And in fairness, like, look, if Chelsea Gray was fit, Chelsea Gray would be the starting point guard in this team, completely justified. Which is why I said it, like when I'm talking about the teams being made, that I think you could argue that an Angel Reese would improve this team more than a Caitlin Clark. Because the only chance they have of losing a game is by missing shots. And if you bring the best offensive rebounder in the W into the team, they just won't, like, they're going to get offensive boards most times. And it allows Steward to play the 3, which she's as good at. Or she's good at that role as anything. But it does show it shows the flaws of Team USA selections, because you're trying to make players play in roles they're not necessarily comfortable with. And sometimes, if you're at your second or your third Olympics, you would kind of know what your role is, and eventually you can adapt. And sometimes, superstars adapting into the role end up being better at those roles than natural role players would be. But that's only sometimes. Like, for example, I think the perfect player that Team USA missed out on was Ariel Atkins. I think the way Ariel Atkins plays, Ariel Atkins should have been a must for Team USA. She should have 100% been a must. I think that, like, a Natasha Cloud, because of how good she passes the ball, if you're not going to bring a Caitlin Clark, I think not bringing Natasha Cloud was crazy. And I'm just trying to think who else is in that we can play. I think bring in Derek Hamby, because she's used to playing with an Aja Wilson. She's used to coming off the bench for, like, an Aja Wilson. She's used to playing with her at the same time and being a star or an all-star, 6th player of the year. I think bringing her to the 5v5 team, regardless of what the story is with camps, because she's able to play that role. I think, again, you can bringing in Enrique would help, because I'm bringing her in as a 6th man, because you can allow her to play, or even like a 10th man. I'm bringing her in and allow her to ISO and allow her to do exactly what she does in the WNBA. There are specific roles for people on the team, and I do think that when you're building a team, you're finding players for those roles. I think the issue with Team USA is that they take the biggest names in general, and then they try to hope that the biggest names are able to fill those roles. Because I think the Team USA can bring a team that almost guarantees them a win. But there are weak points in a team when there's players that just sometimes are not able to, as good as they are not necessarily able to play at that role as well as some other players are at that role. Like when you look in, for example, in men's basketball, if you want an off-guard role at the international level, the best over the last 2 tournaments has been Obst from Germany. He's not even an NBA player. He plays for Bayern Munich. He's not even a... he's like literally not even a player in the league. But yeah, at that level, at that role. Especially because there are probably better Americans than him. Like, I think if you bring a Duncan Robinson to Team USA, he does something very similar. Just because of his off-ball movement and that shooting. But you've just got to bring the biggest names. Like, I think there's a roster that Team USA could bring out that's a lot better than this roster. And by that, I don't mean like the players individually are better. I just think for their whole team, like how the team works, they could have brought maybe a better roster than they would have brought. But at the same time, USA do have that ability to, maybe if we don't bring teams for fit, that we can just out-talent everybody. And it's been working to an extent. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Steward is on the money when it comes to how Team USA structures their teams. She's absolutely on the money that it's going to be uncomfortable for an awful lot of these players. I don't think it has to be, but with the way Team USA selection process is, that we're going to bring an all-star team rather than bringing a team, stuff like that's always going to happen. And the players that will play best for the USA, unless you are, again, if you're Stewie or Aja or the best in the world, the players that will play best are the ones that either are being brought in and naturally suit a certain role. Like, for example, had they brought in an Angel Reese, she would have been able to be that elite rebounder and she would have been a perfect 5th player. Caitlin Clark would have just been told to just throw the ball up and pass the ball. She would have fit the role. Natasha Cloud could have fit the role as a passer. And she could have, in fact, ran without a limp. Ariel Atkins could have been that guard defender. Ariel Atkins, when it was all said and done, probably would have started for this team. Like, if you're trying to base a team to win games by as much as possible, I think you maybe start Ariel Atkins because of how good a defender she is. If not, start Jackie Young. But anyway, that's the video. That's just my logic on it all. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.